Hey folks, Frank the Pest Geek here. Well, I'm doing a workout today video, but I'm not doing a workout. Um, Under a lot of stress. As you know, some of you may know my mom is in hospice right now. She's at my house, and it's getting stressful dealing with my brother in Cuba, um, who doesn't understand that just because we live in the U.S., um, the hospice care here to taking care of people um, is different than what they would do somewhere at home, trying everything they can to keep the person alive as long as they possibly can. I have a different view. I have Christ in my life. My mother has Christ in her life. My brother doesn't know Christ. He's not a believer. And therefore, I am praying that God would take my mother very quickly so she suffers the least. You know, he's over there and he's not over here and he's in turmoil. Um, Very tough situation when you have two different views, and of course I'm the one that has to take care of her. I'm the one that's dealing with it. I've got the business, I've got my children, I'm in the middle of a divorce. um, we're going to arbitration next week. The lawyers are calling me every day wanting more papers, this, that, and the other, and it's very stressful. So I'm having some chest pain. So I decided I want to get out of the house. I want to do some walking, maybe some distraction, do something different. But I'm not going to go to the gym and pump iron and get all excited when I'm having chest pain. Now I'm usually very calm. This is me most of the time. I'm very animated and I'm very, but that's just my personality. Just because I don't look any different doesn't mean I'm not feeling it. Doesn't mean I'm not distraught. I'm watching her lose about 40 pounds in a month. She was weighing probably 110 pounds. She's probably weighing 70 pounds right now. She stopped eating 2 days ago, stopped drinking, and now, you know, the nurses are coming every single day um, and, you know, checking her vitals, checking everything, making sure everything is okay. And basically, you know, why aren't we putting her on this and why aren't we putting her on that? And my opinion on this whole issue of hospice care, which if you've never gone through it, um, nobody ever prepares you for this, and it's tough because you would want, you know, man, it becomes sometimes selfish. Well, I want her to be active and be recognizing me and, you know, talk to me, and the reality is she's dying. She's dying little by little, and this is, it feels inhumane. It feels torturous to see somebody die that you're not doing anything other than managing their pain. She doesn't seem to be in pain, which I thank God for. Um, so I am of the opinion that, you know, I was praying that if she's going to go through pain and all this struggle, that she would have died on the operating table and would have been with Christ. Would have been more peaceful for her and me and everybody else. Um, so dealing with all this at this time when you're pretty much alone, thank God for my cousin that's there and she's been supporting, been staying with us the whole time, dealing with her. She's the older niece, um, and you know, so but she's very distraught too. It's very painful for her. Um, she just saw her sister die of cancer. She saw her husband die of cancer, and now she's seeing her aunt, my mother, die of cancer, and she's not a believer, and she's a Catholic, but she has no hope. And it's very, very distressing to see people around you hurting with no hope. That's really what bothers me the most, is to see my brother with all this pain and all this anguish because he can't come to see his mother die because of a communist system that won't let him get out. For those of you who are thinking, oh, Cuba's so great, they got free health care. You basically got a bunch of people trapped in their own country that can't leave. They can't willingly do anything. There's no food right now in Cuba. You can't buy it. Even if I send them the money, it isn't there. People will say, well, it's the embargo. Um, no, it's not the embargo, stupid. It's the Communist Party. The people that have raped the people of Cuba and have taken everything from them and exported for money, and the people of Cuba get left with nothing. Um, That's what's really happening in Cuba. People cannot leave willingly the country and go to another country. It isn't because this country won't let them in. It's because the Communist Party won't let people leave. They're hostages in their own country. That's what a communist system does. That's what a socialist system does. Eventually, it will crumble. So, yeah, good luck with that. So he's struggling. We're dealing with all these family issues. This is what happens. I mean, I've got my employee, one of them, who's my cousin, who decided he's going to work for somebody else because I had to cut some hours because of the reality of the business took a drop. He was doing L&O. People started canceling L&O left and right while our GHP is growing. Um, he didn't want to do GHP. He didn't want to do because it's a different discipline. He didn't want to upsell. He didn't want to help with phone calls. Um, when people and employees in a small company understand that this is the reality of working for a small company, the average company in America that employs the majority of employees is less than 5 people. When you work for a small company, you have to be willing to wear many hats. When you have this mentality that this is what I do and this is all I do, and when that is no longer available, um, you got to make decisions. Do you want to move on? He came to me and says, listen, I have this job opportunity. I don't want to give it up. I know you're going through a hard time with your mom. You're going through a hard time with this. And I've been offered a job which requires less work and working in a warehouse. And I said to him, man, take it. I'm not going to hold you back in life. Um, you know, it's okay. Go ahead and take it. I'll bless you. And he says, he told me, when do you want to leave? Do you want to leave now? Do you want to wait 2 weeks? It's okay with me. I'm not going to hold you back in this economy. You need to do what is right for your family. And so he took the job and worked. This is his last week this week. And I have to go back on the road now. I have a mom at home in hospice. I got to go back on the road. Finding an employee right now is going to be very tough. So I got to start looking for that. Just bought a brand new van because I was going to grow that part. We're going to do more advertising. We increased the advertising. Unfortunately, in lawn and ornamental, it's a luxury, and some people are freaking out and have stopped their services. Lost major account, lost government contracts that were in that section. But our GHP has doubled in the last 6 months. So the whole idea would have been for him to take a couple days a week of GHP, couple days a week of L&O, balance it out. My other tech is, that's growing. It's already full. I'm going to have to take some of that on. And this is the reality of running a business. If I was a solo operator now, I thank God I'm not, because I would not be able to manage all this and deal with my mom, my kids, a divorce, the work, and be by myself and handle all this. This is what happens when life happens. People are like, well, everything changed and I'm in this situation. Yeah, it's called life. It happens. I have hope. I have hope that things turn around. I have hope that we're going to do better. I mean, I've increased my prices. We had a bang up month last month. Then the month before wasn't so good. This month it's going better. So now we're starting to pick it up because we're cranking out more ads. We're cranking out more content. We're getting more calls. Our calls have tripled now in the last 2 weeks from where they were. So we're seeing, but that's slow in effect. It always, things aren't instant. Like a lot of employees, want to work for a company and they think that within a year or two they're going to be a manager. When you work for a small company, and yes, you get treated better and you get treated like family, and I care for you, and whenever you needed a day off, I gave it, and I said, work your own hours and set your own hours, and as long as you get the route done, I don't care if you start at this time or finish at this time. I mean, I give a lot of people a lot of freedom. You need to take the day off. You don't need to tell me you need to take it off. Just tell me so that we can rearrange the route. If you have an appointment already made with a client, go ahead and change it. It's your responsibility. And what I'm trying to do is hire people that can manage and lead those people that can't manage yet into management where they're managing their route. Now, trying to get them to upsell. Huge task. I mean, I'm paying $25 alone for them to get the customer to give them a review, and they won't do it. They don't want to talk to the customer and ask inconvenience. They feel like it's an inconvenience to ask the customer for a review when they're getting paid $25 for a review. They won't upsell. Most techs aren't going to upsell. I mean, I'm offering it to them. I'm saying, you want to make more money right now, upsell. If the customer, you go to a house and you see bromeliads and there's mosquitoes, say, hey, by the way, we do mosquito service. Would you like a quote? You don't have to beat people down. The customer, I don't force my people to sell. I force them to be good techs. But the opportunity to make the commission is there. The opportunity to get reviews is there, to make money through that way. I mean, I give them a lot of options. When all you want to do is be a tech, and the business can't support you alone by just being a tech, and you want just to do work, a lot of the times in a lot of companies, this isn't going to work. And when we're in a situation like this, where all of a sudden, hey, we had major accounts, they all dropped, and that was 30% of your business, because you had all your eggs in that one basket, because you happened to get the contract, and you had to budget the time. When the large commercial accounts were on bi-monthly, now they want to go quarterly and say, we don't have the budget for bi-monthly, we can only do quarterly. Can you do quarterly? Yes, we can. We're not going to give you any guarantees, but we'll do quarterly. We'll still take the money. You lost a certain percentage. So, I just bought a new van to upgrade them, to put more equipment and be able more comfortable and operate. It's going to take us 2 months to build it out, because we can't get all the product. We can't get the reels. The reels are going to take 2 to 3 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks on the reels on some things. We're custom making this. So we're waiting right now. Today it's Saturday. I'm waiting for the partition to come in with a composite partition that we can install, so there's no odor that comes across. Then we're going to have to get it sealed. We're going to get it sprayed inside to get it sealed. That has to be by appointment. So when you're a small company, when you don't have 20, you don't have an operations manager, you are the operations manager. I'm still wearing 5 hats. I'm still doing finance. I'm still doing invoicing. I'm still doing customer service. I'm still doing sales. Because I can't hire a person to be an admin yet. I still have to do that. We just raised our prices 25% on all one-time services for clients that just want one-time services, and we just raised our prices 25% on that. We just put out the notice that we're going to increase our prices 5% this year. A couple of people called, I've been with you for less than 12 months. Are you going to raise your price? I mean, no, only for customers that have been with us over 12 months. One person told me, well, we need to cut back because we just bought another house, and we're figuring out how we cut back, and they're trying to negotiate their price with me because they bought 2 houses. If you got money for 2 houses, you got money to pay us. This is not the place where you negotiate your pricing with me on that. So no, we're standing to our guns. We're raising our prices across the board to everybody, because we want to be able to give people their raises. And my tech is doing a good job. He deserves his raise. And so we're going to raise our prices to give a raise. Plus, I incentivized him on production. If he will work more hours and stay later for me and help me out, I can give him a bonus. Last month's bonus was $400 because he had a hell of a month, a hell of a week, and a hell of a month too. And we made more money. So I said, listen, I can't give you a bump in raise from, $14. We're $13.50 right now. He's just his first year tech. He started at 13. I gave him $13.50. I'm going to bump him up to 14 automatically now. And then plus I'm giving him a production raise. So at the end of the month, if the production is up, he will make more than his regular hourly. And plus he's already getting paid because he's already making more hours. The problem is he doesn't want to work so many hours. He wants to make more money without making the hours. And so now we got millennials with this problem, and we have to work all these deals out. Folks, this isn't easy just to set something. I've blazed the internet today on Saturday about the whole issue with minimum wage and how much, and all the techs will say this. This is the common denominator with all the techs. If you were paying more, you would get higher quality people. Well, techs that have never actually run businesses don't understand the numbers of what a company can pay and what a company is willing to pay. Large companies, forget about it. The prices are set, the production is set, they got a profit margin they need to meet, they got stockholders. Yes, I understand. I work for a large company. Guys, forget that I was an actual employee for over 15 years. I started working at the time I was 18, 19, when I was able to work because I got free from my cancer. And until 18, I wasn't able to work. I tried working on my own, and it was miserable because I had to take so many time off. I would work for 2 weeks and be 2 weeks off, and I couldn't work anymore because of the cancer treatments. So I was already running a landscape business, and I had it by the time I was 16, 17. And I had a lawnmower in the back of my car. I took all the seats out so I can stick the lawnmower in, the equipment in my car. And I had a 1975 Pontiac Phoenix that was given to me because I couldn't afford a car, because I was on welfare my whole life. So when people talk to me about that things aren't fair and salaries aren't fair and this aren't fair and nothing's fair, nothing is fair in this world. There's no fairness in this world. You negotiate, you ask. The problem with most technicians and most employees, and especially millennials, is they rather walk away from a situation than to say, hey, listen, I think I'm worth another $2 an hour because of this, this, and this. They think they should automatically get stuff and that it should be given to them based upon some arbitrary number that they've come up in their head. Notoriously, the pest control industry has not paid well. I mean, if you can be, here is what's relative. If you've got the capability of doing pest control, you pretty much have the capability of doing anything else. You can be an alarm technician, a camera, CCTV technician. You can work for the cable company. You can do solar installation. You can do other tech work. You can be an IT tech if you can do pest control. And vice versa, if you can do all that stuff, you can probably do pest control too. You can go install garage doors. You could be a plumber. You can go to HVAC school and be an HVAC tech. You can be a home inspector and do something else. So when you have the skills and you've got the soft skills of customer service, of discipline, determination, perseverance, patience, you have all these things that are measurable on scales by taking aptitude tests. And you got those soft skills. You can sell, you're charismatic, you're talkative. Most technicians aren't. They would rather be in a cave somewhere. Then you're more valuable to the company and you can negotiate because you can go do something else. But you got to have the soft skills. And then you also have to have the willingness to work and be accommodating. When you work for a small mom and pop company, man, a customer calls in and says, hey, I'm really hurting and I need you to come here today. And I have, I found these ants all over my counter and it's Friday. And the tech is saying, man, it's 4 o'clock, and I want to go home and I want to leave because my buddies are waiting for me because we're going to go out tonight and party. And I don't want to get home at 8 o'clock. And the customer is pleading with you. And now you have to, almost like it's an inconvenience, to ask the technician to step up to the plate and work that extra hour for you to help that customer out. You're going to have to be flexible on both sides. And I posted a lot about employees and minimum wage and what is a living wage. There's no such thing as a living wage. What's a living wage for a college student that lives at home with mom and dad and basically they want party money and they want a car? What's the living wage there? What's the living wage for a high school student that has no responsibility? It's different than the living wage for a 21-year-old, 18-year-old that has to work to help support his family. But that kid already has a whole lot of ethic and work ethic that he's stepping up to the plate and he's going to do a lot more than the average teenager is. And as a boss, I'm going to recognize that and say, kid, you help that guy out because you recognize, at least I recognize it, at least I see it. I can see a hustler when a kid needs to hustle because he needs to serve his family like I did early on. And that's why I was working 50 hours a week as an IT guy at the age of 20. 21, I was running 20 stores. I was working 50 hours a week. I was coming into the office at 7, leaving at sometimes at 2 in the morning, while I was going to college at night on a full 12 credit, and my weekends and evenings were spent studying. So when somebody tells me you don't understand how hard it is, I understand that you want to go home and play with your Xbox. And, how do I balance that and understand it when I realize that everyone isn't me? And so what's a living wage? Well, if you've got 3 kids and you want your wife to stay home and not work, $15 an hour isn't going to cut it for you unless you live in the middle of Iowa somewhere where you can still buy a house for $120,000. Because making $36,000 a year isn't going to get you much. You both still have to work. So both making $15 an hour, well, that's like making $30 an hour. Okay, now you're getting somewhere. Now you can buy a home and live in a decent home. Miami, you need $85,000 a year right now to buy a home. Unless both of you are making $42,500, which is like $20 an hour, you're not going to buy a home ever. That's a reality. So now a living wage in Miami is $20 an hour, not $15. If you want to be in the top 10% of the money makers at $100,000 a year household income, that's $50,000 a piece. There aren't many jobs that pay $50,000 a year with no skills, with no education, when you don't speak English, when you don't want to go back to school, when you don't want to work 50, 60 hours a week, when you want to work 40, you want to work 30 something hours a week. And a lot of people saying, well, yeah, it's a different age. Yeah, it is. I can't fix that for you. I can't change that for you. I can't make it better for you. I can't soothe it for you. The fact is that when I was making $1,800 a month as an IT tech with no college degree yet, but I had hustle, the fact that the guys graduating with bachelor's degree weren't making much more than that. Today, people are still making $2,000 a month starting out in Miami. I get it. I've criticized my own Hispanic people for being exploiters, of paying people under the table, and on top of that, you're paying them $9 an hour cash under the table. Restaurants pay cash to all their employees under the table. There's an old saying in Hispanic, lo barato sale caro, and yo lo quiero bueno, bonito y barato. You're either a schizophrenic or you're insane, because you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I want, the best quality, but I want to pay cheap. It's like I saw in a post the other day in a group, somebody posted, I'm looking for a good Mercedes mechanic that isn't expensive. What? Are you insane? Have you lost your mind? Since when is a specialty car mechanic going to be cheap? What's expensive? Everything is relative. These are all relative terms. So what do I want for my business? I want to be the best company. I don't care what my competition pays. I don't care what the large national companies pay. I don't care what they charge. I don't compete with them. I created a blue ocean for myself that takes me a lot longer because I'm dealing with high-end clients, but I'm providing a top quality service that nobody's offering. I'm providing an IPM service with no sprays on the floors. And I'm looking for clients that don't want sprays on the floors. It's about a fit. The same way I'm looking for an employee that can say, you know what, I'll take a little bit less on the front end to get a little bit more on the back end if you make it, help you. And how much can I really afford to pay when I'm already paying 30% more than my competitors? I just had one customer says, I called this company. I've been waiting 3 days for them to call me back. I've made 3 calls. They still haven't called me back. I says, you realize they pay their technicians $10 an hour, right? And their initial service is $165. He paid me $455 for my initial. Why? It's supply and demand. That's business. That's life. If you can't get why I raised my prices is because nobody's answering their phones. If you think you're going to get a $35 or $65 spray service in Miami right now, you're crazy. Because there is nobody that can survive on that, and they won't be in business. And I got people telling me, no, the other guy used to charge me $300 to spray the entire community. We can't find him. We don't know what happened. He won't return calls. Says the reason is he charged you $300. You see, so we just raised our prices 5%. We raised it every year 3%. Nobody's ever quit. We just raised it 25%. We raised our prices on maintenance services about 10%. Anywhere to 20 depending on the program they get for new clients. So that I could give my people that bonus, that additional bonus that he's getting now. So now we're above everybody else in pay, even for experienced technicians. Because the biggest companies down here are paying 18% production. My goal is to get my techs up to 25% production pay. I have a pipe dream, guys, of paying 35%. Why? Because I found out there's some countries in the South paying 35%. So if they're paying 35%, it's doable. You know what I decided? I'll take a little bit less for me as a company. Instead of getting the 60% that I know they're getting to grow, and they're putting it all back into sales and salespeople for growth, I'll put it back into my employees. But I'm demanding more now. Because, see, before I would say I could have a tech that I can manage. Now I'm demanding a tech that can manage himself, that I don't have to manage. A tech that when he gets home, he's going to call those clients for the next day and figure out how he manages his route. I'll pay you 35% because the average administrative cost on back-end staff is 6%. I'll give you the extra 6% that it's going to cost on the back end. But you're responsible for collections. You're responsible for making sure that that vehicle gets washed every week. I don't care if you pay somebody to do it. I don't care if you do it yourself. You're responsible for making sure that at the end of the week, you don't run out of product and I have an inventory on my desk to place orders. If you tell me you ran out of a product and you showed up to a job and you didn't have it, you're going to hear it from me. You're going to get an earful because you should have had that managed. You should have put in that order. When the vehicle needs maintenance, you can't tell me, oh, well, I don't have the time to go get it maintained. Because now I have to pay somebody to come and then you got to drop off the vehicle. You got to take it. When you've got 3-4 trucks on the road, guys, there isn't a fleet company that you can, unless I'm giving you a take-home vehicle. Listen to this. Everything is about give and take in this world. If I give you a take-home vehicle, you're responsible for making sure it's gassed, it's cleaned, it's in repair. If something breaks, take it to the dealer. I'm not going to take my Saturday and do that. Well, guess what? On Fridays, every Friday, you got to drop off the vehicle so we can get it inspected, get it maintained. And then you got to make arrangements how you're going to go home that day. Or you don't get a home truck. It gets turned in every afternoon and it gets inspected and it gets maintenance and then we micromanage it. But then you're micromanaging me and you're checking all my equipment and you're checking all this. Well, if you don't manage yourself, then I have to manage you. You can't have it both ways. You got to choose. So how much responsibility you want, how much pay do you want, it's going to depend how much you want to carry. If you want to be a tech that gets in his truck, looks at his route, and all the product is in his vehicle, and the oil change is done, the vehicle, he comes in and that vehicle is clean every day, then, and all you want to do is tech work and show up and say, I did the work, and go back if there's a problem, and turn in your vehicle at the end of the day, then you're not going to make as much, because there is no small company in America that is a 5-man company, which is the average. In Florida, the average company is 7 people. In Miami-Dade, it's 3.2. Where are you at in the country? See, if you want to work for a larger company, there's more bureaucracy. You want the 401k. At 25-year-olds aren't caring for 401ks. They just want the cash. As you get older and you realize, hey, I need to plan for retirement, that 401k becomes important. So is 401k important to everybody? No. I got companies telling me, dude, I got 14 employees. Nobody's taking advantage of the 401k. I'm matching 6%, and nobody's taking advantage of it. I got the insurance, and these young people, these 22, 25, 30-year-olds, they're not wanting the insurance because it costs them $200 to $300, a month. It costs like $1,000 per employee, $800 per employee to get the insurance, and they want it $100. They'll take it if I give it 100%, but if they got to pay anything for it, they don't want it. So you offer 401k, you offer benefits, and your employees think it should be an entitlement program that they should get for free for being an employee there. Well, if I do that, then I got to cut your salary. You got to take a lower salary because I can only pay a percentage of income. The average company will do okay. They'll do good and okay if they get 50%. 10% on vehicle expenses, 10 to 13% on cost of goods, and then between 22 and 25% for payroll, plus you got payroll expenses, workman's comp, taxes. People don't understand that, oh, they took so much out of my paycheck. Well, guess what? That same amount they took out, we paid in. You only pay half of your taxes when you're an employee. When you're self-employed, you pay the whole tax. So if you think it hurts now, wait until the government gets you and you're self-employed. These are the realities that employees don't get. I need a 50% for overhead to cover that admin, to cover my salary, to cover the overhead if we need a warehouse, and all the other overheads. The more you grow, I need a warehouse already. If I get another vehicle next year, which I was planning on having vehicle number 3 ready to go this year, and it didn't happen, I would have needed a warehouse already. Here's the problem. I looked for a warehouse the other day. There aren't any warehouses. I was looking for 1,500 square feet warehouse with an office. They don't exist. They're purple unicorns. I must have called 20 management companies. They were completely sold out. Nobody's going out of business, guys. This whole idea that the economy's bad. No. The economy isn't bad. A lot of dollars got pumped into the system. Do I have an issue with the fact that we're borrowing more? The government is going to have to raise taxes to pay for it. It isn't going to get paid. It's all paid by our money that all of us have put in equally, including employers and employees have put into a system so that it's there when they need it. The problem is, where are they going to get all this money from? They have to raise taxes. So eventually, we got to pay for it. Somehow. What's going to happen is, we're going to innovate more. I'm not worried about not being able to find people, because I'll innovate more. I'll do flex time. I'll say, look, work for me for 30 hours if you're looking for 30 hours, and I'll pay you 20 to 30% more than anybody's paying. I don't worry about that. You can negotiate everything. Everything is negotiable. When you're a small business, you got to learn that everything is negotiable. You got to negotiate. A lot of people, owners, solo operators, are basically technicians that became self-employed. And here is the problem, that the most challenging part that you guys are going to face, because you have this mentality that the customer was getting ripped off. They were charging too much. And then you said, I don't want to be the most expensive guy and I don't want to be the lowest guy. I want to be right in the middle. You know what Jesus said about being in the middle, being lukewarm? It gives you nausea. Go ahead and try to be in the middle. In the middle, you can't please anybody. So now you're like, I don't want to charge with my company. I'm going to charge a lot less. And then all of a sudden you get into a year in this and you realize, yeah, you're making $150,000 in sales. You're making $75,000 in income. You don't have enough money left over to hire anybody, and you're stuck like Chuck. Because now you can't hire a technician part-time. Nobody wants to work part-time, only college kids and high school kids, and you have a thing against millennials. Well, you're stuck like Chuck. Because no man that has to raise a family, that has to pay a mortgage, that has golden handcuffs, is going to come work part-time for you for $12 an hour. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Except you have no money. You got more mouth than you got money. Because you don't have enough saved up, because you ate it all, because you said, yeah, I'm finally making what I should be making. I'll go do this and I'll go do that. And you don't have any money saved. This is where most of you are in, if you're honest. So the reason I've lit up the internet today is to get everybody's reaction. You know, people think I have a position because I post something. No, it is usually to see what you're thinking. I already know what I think. Nobody has to tell me what I think. Nobody's ever going to tell me what I think. I have my own mind. So what is fair to pay somebody? It's whatever's negotiated. I remember working for a large corporation, and I went in there as a temp because I needed to move cities and I couldn't find a job, so I hired an agency, got me in there as a temp. Man, it wasn't 6 months later until my contract expired with my temp agency that they were able to offer me a full-time position, because they had a contract they had to pay so much to get out of it. And the vice president of sales came to me and said, actually the assistant, my boss, came to me and said, Don wants to know how much you want to make. Give me a number. And I wrote on a piece of paper what I wanted for a salary. And he came back and an hour later and says, you got it. Should have asked for more. Got the highest raises ever from percentage-wise of anybody else while I worked for that company. I loved working for that man. I just didn't like what I was doing for the company at the time anymore. And I took a lower paying job to have a soul, because it robbed me of my peace and my joy and my love and everything that I enjoyed about working and doing what I did. The corporation became greedy. And we all know about greedy corporations. I've been there. I've experienced greedy corporate. I've experienced ungrateful bosses who, after I built up a store that they were never ever made a profit on, I took it and in 6 months had a $10,000 profit on a store that never made a profit. They just don't like the way I did it because it didn't agree with the corporate standard, and they fired me. Never stole a dime, made the store profitable, and I know what it's like not to be appreciated. Hey, look, I was a youth pastor, and I settled for $400 so I could do something I loved. And I used to work 60 hours a week as a youth pastor for $400 a week salary. And not only was I not appreciated, I was actually pushed aside, because we're supposed to tell the truth in love. When I had to tell the pastor his son was behaving in a certain way, he took offense to it. This is what happens when you work at a small company that there is nepotism, and this is the reality of work. There's going to be nepotism. He's going to favor his son over you. You're never going to run that company. This is the reality. When you go work for a small company and there's only 5 employees and you think you're going to be the manager, the next manager, it isn't going to happen, folks. There isn't that many people to manage. I rather hire people that I don't have to manage, that are going to be happy running their route, that are going to be happy taking care of their customers, that they can operate that route as if it were their own business, and me giving them a piece of the profits, but I'm not giving you a piece of the company. There's a big difference. You're not going to get ownership. Because if I dilute the company through ownership, and then later on, that's my retirement, that I built up a company big enough that I can sell, that's my retirement money, so I can live, because I spent 15 years trying to build the company when nobody was there, when the government didn't give me a handout, I didn't get an SBA loan, there were no employees there saying, you know what, I'll work for you for free in exchange for ownership. They're not willing to take that risk because employees aren't owners. They're risk averse. So you're doing everything uphill, and then you have a right to own that company and sell it later, because if I can grow it to $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million, it's a miracle. You don't know how hard it is to grow a company to $1 million. We're starting a group to build a company to $1 million. It's going to be the $1 Million Pest Control Group by Pest Geeks. Only going to be for people that are actually growing right now. We're only going to limit it to 50 states, 1 per state, so there's no competition. You don't have to feel like if you give me your secrets, oh my God, I'm going to grow my company into your area. I mean, right there, you can't be in this group if that's your thinking, if you're that insecure, because you're never going to grow to $1 million being that insecure. So it's going to be for guys that are actually growing, that already have 1 tech in themselves plus another tech, 2 routes minimum. So making the barrier to entry very easy. And you got to have something that you contribute in a mastermind every single month. If you're not going to contribute, you can't be in the group. So it isn't a group that you just sit there and watch everybody give all their advice while you're taking notes and you're contributing nothing. This group is a true mastermind. It's free because I don't believe in charging for masterminds. It's going to be free, and these are the things that I'm doing. So guys, there's no easy answers here, what you're going to pay somebody, what your market will bear, what that individual needs are, what that individual need changes. I mean, he all of a sudden worked for you for 2 years. He gets married. All of a sudden he has a kid and he ends up having, triplets. And now you're paying him this money because I can't live on this. I've got 3 mouths to feed. These kids eat like crazy. Formula is expensive. Things happen. Things change. There shouldn't be hard feelings. There should be, hey, look, this is what we can do. This is what I'm willing to do. Employees should be honest and transparent with the people that, listen, I'm only willing to work for you for 36 hours a week because I'm in college and I don't want to work Saturdays, and I'm not going to work Sundays ever because I go to church on Sundays. You should be able to stick to your guns as an employee, tell people what you want, and find out where you're a fit. But you can't say I want to make $16 an hour while I'm a college student. I want to work at Starbucks because I only want to deal with certain things. I don't want any stress. And God forbid you ask me to work overtime. And then I want this and that. You're going to have to settle for something. Not everything is going to go your way. I mean, you could be the guy that totally gets lucky at everything in life. And, you're a total loser. And you manage to get the job that pays you $16 an hour and gives you weekends off and only gives you 30 hours a week. And you get a great deal on that new car and you get to marry your trophy wife. I don't know, bro. Saturn aligns with Venus and the wind blows the right way, and the sun was hitting her eye that day perfectly. And you guys just met and sparks happen, and, you could rent a movie also. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But guys, these are the real issues in life. Life happens to a lot of people. You went to college, you got a degree, you were working at a career, and all of a sudden your position is obsolete and you're gone, and nobody else in the world is going to appreciate that degree to give you what you've made, and now you're 40 something or 50 something and you haven't upgraded your skills. Here's another thing that I want to talk about: experience. Experience doesn't matter how many years of experience you have. If you've got 25 years or 15 years of experience, and your experience is 15 years old, and you're still spraying baseboards, and you think that controlling pests is spraying baseboards because that's what you've been doing for 15 years, and you're telling me you're not going to get underneath a stove with a flashlight because you're 65 and your knees are hurting, or you're 55 and your knees are hurting, and you're 30 pounds overweight, and you're not going to get inside that cabin, and you're not going to bait, and you're not going to inspect, and you're not going to do monitors because the way you were trained to do it, and you've got 15 years of experience, and you think you're going to come into a company and they're going to have to retrain you, and they're going to have to undo all that bad habit. It is much easier to get a younger guy for less money, train him the right way, the way they want to do it, don't have all that drama to deal with, and you're obsolete because you're not upgrading your skills. Just like a doctor that decides he's going to practice medicine like it was 25 years ago. You got to upgrade your skills. You got to have something of value that you bring to the table that says, what are you going to do for me that a 25-year-old can't do, or a 35-year-old can't do? So just because you have experience, do you have an expertise? Can you solve bed bug problems where nobody else can? Can you take on the most difficult bed bug problems and solve them when the younger guy can't? What is it that you're bringing? The problem is everybody says they're great. I've hired many people that have experience, and I've had to fire them all because they were full of it. So everybody embellishes resumes when you're hiring people. Guys, for all you guys, oh, I want to see their resume. I could care crap about your resume. I don't even look at resumes. I want to see you reacting to what I say and see how you take it. And I want to see your body language. And I'm going to interview you automatically through an app that does recorded interviews. And I'm going to give you a personality profile. And I want to see how you rate on that, because I know that system. And then I'm going to give you things to do, and I'm going to give you a test on reading, and a test in math, and a test in mechanical aptitude. And I'm going to see how you follow directions through that whole process. If you're not willing to spend 75 minutes taking aptitude tests, what makes you think you're going to sit through 1-hour courses that I create? If you're not going to follow directions to say, click this link, or follow this link, or use this link to get an instant interview, and you're emailing me saying, I want an interview with you tomorrow, I want to have a conversation, that tells me you're not going to follow the rules. You're going to always try to get around them. You don't qualify, you don't fit in our organization. So you're basically wanting drones that follow protocols, procedures. Yes, that's what franchises do. When you own a franchise, you go, I would never work under that. I'll start, if I could sell, if I could do service, and I could manage, I would start up. I would never ever work for you. Well, why do people buy $100,000 franchises all the time? Why do they buy Subway franchises? They have a proven system that works, that you don't need to recreate the wheel. If you want to be so independent and you want to be an entrepreneur, because that's, you think, that's fine, knock yourself out. The fact is that there's a seat for every butt. And a system that is proven works better than an unproven system that you got to go and create. So we're looking for people that can follow protocol, policies, procedures. If you can't work for me. Well, I would never work for you. That's great, because I would never hire you. You don't fit. We're looking for fits. And there are people who want to follow protocol, policies, and procedures, They want to go to their job. They want to interact with people. They want to think. They want to use their head. They want to diagnose. There's a time for you to use your head is when you're diagnosing. You see, so, all of these things about hiring people and the things you don't have expertise in is because you haven't done it. And, I've already hired and fired and changed and lost, I don't know, over 15 employees over a 15-year period. For many reasons. They were fired because they were stealing. Oh, if you would have paid them enough, they would have never stole. Baloney. They were getting paid excellent. Here's the other one. I mean, you guys can't win. I mean, I'm going all over the place today because I'm having so many conversations with so many people. You say you hear the posts. I mean, if you're on Facebook, you think most of these people are schizophrenic. You're on Facebook and you're saying, well, the reason you're not getting top quality applicants is because you're not paying enough. Okay, I'll call you on your bluff. I'll put a post that says, hey guys, I'm going to pay, the average company is paying 18%, I'm going to pay 35%. And then a bunch of you jump in there and says, well, you're going to get people that are just after the money. So which is it? If I don't pay enough, I don't get the right people. And if I offer too much, I'm going to get people with ulterior motives. Guess what, guy? That's not their problem. That's your problem. That's my problem. No matter what you offer in a market, you're going to get all kinds of people applying. You're going to get people that have been jumping ship every 6 months thinking they're worth $16 an hour when they've been working at every little sandwich shop for $8 or $9 and they're dissatisfied everywhere and they keep jumping ship every 6 months because they don't like the bosses they work for. And then you're going to get the guy who one day is a barista, the next day he's a security guard, the next day, he's working, pulling cable, the next day he's digging ditches, the next day he's planting trees. You're going to get all kinds of people. You're going to get the guy that has been with a company for 4 years, but he's totally miserable, and he's always been totally miserable. He doesn't have the guts to quit. You're going to get the guy who wants to hustle and he wants to move ahead in life, but he doesn't have ethics. You're going to get all kinds of people applying who think they deserve what you're offering. It is your job as an owner to have a system to recruit, to attract, to hire, to onboard, to train, to evaluate, and decide if that person is a fit for your organization, and it's a 50-50 shot no matter which way you slice it. With video interviewing, with assessments. The difference is you got a 50-50 chance versus an 80-20. You still got to put out the ads. You still got to do the work. You still got to go through a process, have a training manual, and have all these things in place. You still got an HR system later. Evaluate, and if that person isn't going to be a fit, then it is your job to recognize that and fire them immediately and start that process over again. So I don't want to go through that. Here's the problem with solo operators and people who are technicians that are not business people, that are not salespeople, that are not marketers. They want to do tech work, and what they want is more work. And the moment they have to do selling all the time, they're willing to sell if the customer calls them. They're not going to go out and recruit. They're not going to cold call. The same way that you're a technician turned self-employed, you don't want to go through all that. You don't want to go through constant interviewing and going through that pain again. But guess what? That's part of the game. You got to go through it. You got to decide if you don't want to, then you can't want to play in that arena. The price of admission is the price of admission. If you can't pay, you can't play. Let's not kid ourselves that we're such great entrepreneurs because, we read all the books and we make all these comments. I got guys fronting all over the place and they can't keep a job. They lost their company. You know, they were terrible managers. They're fronting all over the place. I mean, when do we cut the BS and be transparent and be real? Just be real human beings. This is what we offer. This is what we pay. I'm going to evaluate you. If everything that isn't on this resume isn't true, I'm going to know. And I'm going to call your bluff. And I'm going to fire you. And you're going to be like this, and this. And the moment I catch you doing something different, understand that I don't trust you until you've earned the trust. I'm not turning over a $50,000 vehicle to a 24-year-old that I can't trust, that hasn't demonstrated he can be trusted. Full of chemicals. And then entrust the customers to them. Everything has to be about process. And about order. And about systems. And about accountability. And about responsibility. And if you can't handle this, you can't be in this business. And it doesn't matter what you pay. Yes, you can't underpay and be a total douchebag and pay $9 an hour. But you got to figure out, I can't find anybody to work. Well, if all these other technical jobs that require relative skills are all paying $16 an hour and you're offering 13, and they have insurance and they have, days off and they have all this, and you're not meeting that standard, yeah, you're not going to attract anybody because you're competing in a market for similar skills for like jobs. When somebody can go work at a warehouse for $17.50 an hour and you're paying 16, it's not the fact that nobody wants to work, it's nobody wants to work for you for what you're paying. Because they can do something easier. And you don't seem to get that through your head because you got abused and you didn't get paid, and that's why you started up, and now you want to repeat this cycle all over again. I mean, guys, come on, let's get real. You keep doing things that you don't want done to you. The Bible tells you, as a Christian believer, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Pay your people on time. Stop changing the commission structure. Stop changing the percentage. Stop changing the KPIs. That's what pisses people off, that you're constantly changing things. And I'm looking at companies that are constantly changing things. Every single day they're changing something that screws with somebody's compensation or the way they're supposed to. You entrepreneurs that constantly are changing your mind because you won't give anything a chance to work. You're driving everybody around you insane. Employees are like children. They need stability. If they wanted to be entrepreneurs, they would have gone out already and started their own business. The reality is this is a 1 to 3% game. It isn't for everybody. Sure, it's sexy to talk about entrepreneurship now, but you know what really entrepreneurship is when you start out is? It's called self-employment. Self-reliance. There's no safety net. There's nobody coming to save your ass. You're on your own. How sexy is that now? That's the reality of being self-employed. Until you can, I'm going to raise capital. Everybody thinks they're going to be a tech startup. You guys, it's just like we used to watch too many movies. You guys are watching too many YouTube videos on entrepreneurship. You need to get real. This isn't the real world. I had one guy the other day call me. I already gave the story on that. Never mind. I got it on another video that hasn't been published yet. But, guys, what can I tell you? It's the way I feel sometimes about business, it's like being on a roller coaster. After you finish eating a large meal. You go up, it's exhilarating, you're coming down, yay, until you start turning green and you want to puke. It's life. I hope you guys will understand that what you're going through is not crazy. That what's happening to you, is not unique to you. It happens to everybody. Everybody is in a boat. I pray for you guys. I pray every day for my competitors. I pray because you know why? My competitors are somebody's dad, somebody's husband that is trying to make a living. Whether they're misguided, whether they're doing illegal things, I still pray for them. I pray for employees. Why do you think I'm talking about how you can be a better employee? I feel terrible for that guy that works for a company. You know how many calls I get on a monthly basis, texts, messages? Man, I'm watching you and listening to you, and I'm working for this company. They're telling me to do things that I read the label. They told me to do this, and it's against the law. I feel bad for that guy. I feel terrible. I'm a human first, and I care more about people first than I care about money. I really do. And I feel terrible. Why do I give away all my secrets? Because you know what? That company that isn't training you, shame on them. I hope you learn. I hope you work for a better company. I hope that you're doing better because you're somebody's dad. You're somebody's son. You're somebody's husband. And the Bible tells me how to treat people. The Bible also tells me, hey, listen, if you don't work, you shouldn't eat. You will not eat. The Bible tells me, Jesus says, the poor will always be among you. Jesus also said that pure religion is taking care of orphans and widows. The Bible says that he who does not have diligence will not be made prosperous. If you lack diligence to follow up and do, you will not be prosperous. He says, God says, I bless the work of your hands. You have to work before you can be blessed. You have to be willing. The Bible tells you to pay your people on time because they're dependent upon that to feed their families. The Bible has a ton to say about how to do business, and how to treat people. Read a proverb a day. There's so much that as human beings we need to learn, and the comments that sometimes I hear from a total bunch of idiots on Facebook. I mean, there's always that 1% that is just, my boss used to tell me, Frank, there's no way a company is going to get 100% customer satisfaction. Why? He says 2% of the world is crazy. The best you can hope for is 98%. The best you can hope for is 98% customer retention. When I see a guy that has 3, 4, 500, 5 stars, I know he's cheating. Mathematically and humanly, it's not possible to have 600, 700, 800 5-star reviews. Here's what happens. The customer wants to quit and threatens you. And what do? You give them a refund to avoid the 5-star, to get a 4.8. The last 2 I have are for competitors. They're not even clients. They don't even have a profile. I eat it. Look, guys, I know the games. I've been in business a long time. I've been in this world a long time. I know I look really young, but I'm 50. I feel young. I act young. I'm feeling older, but you learn some things. You make a lot of mistakes. You get hurt a lot. The longer you live, the more. I mean, I can imagine being a vampire living for 3, 4, 500, 1,000 years. God, that has to be miserable. Thank God it's not going to be that way with Christ and eternal life. I don't know. There's a lot to consider. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of things that happen that are outside of your control, my control, anyone's control. We have to persevere. We have to be optimistic. See the glass as half full, not half empty. If we get kicked down, that's okay. Let's get back up. There's no shame in falling and failing. The shame is in quitting. You keep going. You persevere. Hey, even Jesus says, the ones that are going to inherit eternal life are those who persevere till the end. You quit halfway, you don't get your reward. So I hope this encourages you. I hope that you understand that, hey, a lot of things going on in this world that you can't do anything about. And we're not going to fix these issues. we're never going to come into an agreement of what minimum wage should be. We're never going to come into an agreement how much to pay somebody, how much somebody's worth. What can you afford to pay versus what you're willing to pay? Those are all human issues. There's no formula. There's no secret. Everything has to be discussed, talked, negotiated. If you can't swing it and you say somebody, I can't pay you an extra $2,000 a year, and he's a good employee and he's on time and he works, how much is it going to cost you to fire him, retrain somebody, and go through that entire process again if he's a good employee? Is he worth another $2,000 a year? If you're going to stick to your guns and say no as a small company, chances are you're going to lose, because he's going to go find another job. It's easier for him to get trained than it is for you to train. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Don't strain the gnat and swallow the camel. Evaluate everything. Hey, this is Frank the Pest Geek, wishing you a pestacular day.